Today's project is how to make this adorable pocket whale. I'm going to place him down here and show you what you'll need. You'll need a crochet hook. Today I'm going to be using my Clover 2.5mm hook. You're also going to need 2 safety eyes and 2 washers to secure those eyes, a yarn needle to add in some rosy cheeks, a stitch marker, a pair of scissors so that we can cut our yarn as we need to, some polyester toy stuffing, and then the yarn itself. Today I'm going to be making a blue whale, so I'm going to use blue for the main part of the body, white for the underbelly, and then I'm going to use a little bit of pink to add some rosy cheeks. This will be our colour palette. We're going to start with the main body of the whale. For this, I'm going to be using blue yarn, and I'm going to start with making a slip knot and attaching it to my hook. Once done, let's chain 2 stitches, so yarn over and pull through twice. In the second chain from the hook, we're going to place 6 single crochets. I shall speed up the video a little and we'll meet at the end of this round once you've completed all 6 stitches. With the last stitch complete, let's grab our stitch marker and place the stitch marker in the last stitch of that round. This is so we know where the end of the round is. You may find a hole has formed in the centre of your work. If so, grab your yarn end and give it a little tug to close. We can now move on to round 2. For round 2, we're going to place an increase into each of the 6 stitches of round 1. By that, I mean we're going to place 2 single crochets into each of the 6 stitches. At the end of this round, you should have 12 stitches in total. Grab your stitch marker and mark the last stitch that you created. If the hole is forming in the center of your work, give your yarn end a little tug to close it. And we can now move on to round 3. For round 3, we're going to be doing a single crochet and following that up with an increase. And we'll do that for the entirety of the round. At the end of round 3, you will have 18 stitches. Replace your stitch marker, give your yarn tail a little tug to close the hole in the center if needed, and we can now move on to round 4. We're going to continue increasing in round 4. For round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets followed by an increase, and again we'll do that for the entirety of the round. At the end of round 4, you will have 24 stitches. Replace your stitch marker, and now we can move on to round 5. Round 5 is going to be the last of our increasing rounds. For this round, we're going to do 3 single crochets followed by an increase, and we'll do that for the entirety of the round. At the end of round 5, you will have 30 stitches in total. Let's meet back at the end of this round to continue. Perfect! With round 5 complete, let's replace our stitch marker in the last stitch that we created, and we can move on to elongating the body a little. We're going to just be doing single crochets for the next 4 rounds. So that's for round 6, 7, 8 and 9. I'm going to fast forward my video here and we will meet back at the end of round 9 as round 10 gets exciting, as we're going to add the tail and the fins to our whale. Sweet, that's us finished round 9, so let's return our stitch marker and we're going to now add the tail and fins to our whale in round 10. We're going to start with the tail, and to do that we're going to chain 5 stitches. In the 3rd chain from our hook, we're going to place a double crochet. So yarn over your hook and then place your hook through the 3rd chain from your hook. Yarn over again and pull the yarn through the chain. You'll now have 3 loops on your hook. For a double crochet, we're going to yarn over and pull that yarn through the first 2 loops on your hook. You're now left with 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over one more time and pull that yarn through the remaining 2 loops. And that's our double crochet. We're going to move on to the next chain, and we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over and push your hook through the chain. Yarn over and pull the loop through, and you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull that yarn through all 3 loops this time. In the last chain, we're going to be placing a single crochet. To better secure the tail to the whale body, we want to place a slip stitch into the stitch where the chain originated. You can find that by giving the tail a little tug and seeing if a hole appears. So place the slip stitch in there and then we can move on. The next stitch we're going to do is a single crochet into the next stitch, and we're just going to be doing one of those. Now chain 5 stitches again, as we're going to do the second half of the tail. As before, we're going to work into the 3rd chain from our hook with a double crochet. So yarn over, push your hook through the 3rd chain from the hook, yarn over, pull your working yarn through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull that yarn through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and pull the yarn through the second 2 loops. In the next chain, we'll do a half double crochet. So yarn over and push your hook through. Yarn over, pull your working yarn through. Yarn over and pull that yarn through all 3 loops on your hook. In the final chain, we'll just do a single crochet. And again, we want to secure the tail to the body, so find where the chain started and place a slip stitch. At this point, we've only done 1 single crochet into the round before, and that's sitting between the 2 tail parts. We'll now do 7 single crochets. That will get us to the right position to start on the first fin. With all 7 single crochets done, we're going to now chain 3. In the second chain from the hook, we're going to place a half double crochet. So yarn over and place your hook through that chain. Yarn over and pull your working yarn through until you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull your working yarn through all 3 loops. In the next chain down, we're going to do a single crochet. And again, to secure the fin, we're going to be placing a slip stitch into the stitch that has the chain originating from it. To get to the right position for the second fin, we need to do 15 single crochets across the front of our whale. Perfect. That leaves us with 7 stitches left on this round, but first we need to make the fin. So chain 3, and on the second chain from the hook we're going to place a half double crochet. And again, you yarn over and place your hook through that chain. Yarn over again, pull your working yarn through, and you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull your working yarn through all 3 loops. In the last chain, we're going to just do a single crochet. And similar to before, to secure the fin to the body, we want to place a slip stitch into the stitch that the chain originated from. So we have now got 7 stitches left. We're going to single crochet into each of those 7 stitches, but stop when you get to the 7th stitch, as we'll perform a colour change at that point, and I'd like to talk you through that. To do the colour change, we're going to be placing our hook through the final stitch of this round. So push your hook through and pull your working yarn through the stitch, and you'll have 2 loops on your hook. We'll quickly stop there and grab our scissors and snip away at our working yarn as we're done with the blue colour. Pick up the yarn you want to use for the colour of the belly of your whale. I'm going to be using a white, and I'm going to do the colour change at this point. So place your white yarn over your hook and pull it through both the blue loops. That's our colour change complete. And we can now move on to doing the rest of our whale's body. We're now on round 11. For round 11, we're going to be stitching into the back loops only of the stitches of round 10. The first single crochet is going to be using the single crochet that's situated between the whale tail parts. So using the back loop only, let's create our first single crochet of the round. You may need to hold back your whale's tail in order for it not to get caught up in the stitches. The next 2 single crochets come just after the whale's tail. And remember, we're doing this entire round using the back loops only. At this point, we've only done 3 single crochets. The next step is to do an invisible decrease using the next 2 stitches. Again, only using the back loops. So push your hook through the center of each of the next 2 stitches, grabbing the back loops only, and create your invisible decrease. We have 3 stitches left in this section before you get to the fin. So do single crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. We're going to jump over the fin to get to the next 2 stitches. This is in the section of the front of the whale where there's 15 stitches before you get to the next fin. Hold your fin back for easier access to the stitches and create an invisible decrease, again using the back loops only. Continue with 3 single crochets using the back loops only. This section's quite easy because it's got a good run of stitches. Once you've done those 3, we're going to do an invisible decrease into the next 2 stitches. Another 3 single crochets into the next 3 stitches. An invisible decrease using the next 2 stitches. In the final 3 stitches before you get to the fin, we're going to do a single crochet into each of those. At this point, we have 7 stitches left for us to use in this round. We're going to start with jumping over our fin in order to get access to the next 2 stitches and perform an invisible decrease. Again, back loops only. We'll follow that with 3 single crochets using the back loops only. And the last stitch of this round is an invisible decrease using the last 2 stitches of the round before. Awesome, that's round 11 complete, and we have 24 stitches in round 11. Let's secure our work and we'll take a pause so that we can add some eyes to our whale so that he can see. As we've done the tail and the fins of our whale, we now know where the front of our whale is. We can now add the eyes. For that, you're going to need 2 safety eyes and 2 washers to secure the eyes in place. We want to place the eyes between rounds 8 and 9. Let's place the eyes around 2 stitches away from the fin. We can grab our second eye and do exactly the same, around 2 stitches away from the fin between rounds 8 and 9. Make sure that you're happy with the placement, as we're going to now turn our whale inside out to get better access to the back of our safety eyes. We're going to secure our eyes in place with using the washers we've set aside. Grab your first washer and you'll see that there's a curved side and a flat side. You want the flat side to be facing the yarn. Push down on the washer until it clicks. If we take a quick look at the second safety eye, you'll see that there's an actual ridge on the back of the eye. This is what the washer is locking into. Grab your second washer and again make sure that the flat side is facing the yarn and push the washer down until it clicks. When you're happy that the eyes are secure, we can turn our whale the right way around again. Perfect, our whale can now see, and we can move on to completing the rest of his belly. So let's continue. I've reattached my stitch marker to the last stitch of round 11, and we can now move on to round 12. For round 12, we're going to do 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. And we'll do that for the entirety of the round. Let's quickly do the first 2 single crochets. So that's 1 and 2. And I'll show you how to do the invisible decrease this time. In the next 2 stitches, we're going to grab the front loops only. With the front loops of the next 2 stitches on our hook, we're going to continue making the stitch, and that's our invisible decrease. So let's continue this round with doing 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease all the way around until you have 18 stitches. With round 12 complete, let's secure our work again, as it's the perfect time to bring out our toy stuffing and start stuffing our whale. As he's just a wee whale, he doesn't need a lot of toy stuffing. I like to break up my toy stuffing a little bit before I put it into my toys. Grab a small handful and start stuffing your whale. You can make the judgment call of how squishy you want your whale to be, but there'll be also one more opportunity to continue adding a little bit more stuffing in a couple more rounds time. I think that's all I'm going to add just now, so we can now move on to round 13. I've reattached my stitch marker to the last stitch of round 12, and we can now start round 13. For this round, we're going to do a single crochet followed by an invisible decrease. We're going to do that for the entirety of the round. At the end of round 13, you will be left with 12 stitches. Let's meet back once you've completed this round. With round 13 finished, let's take a moment to secure our work. This is going to be your last opportunity to add more stuffing to your whale. I think I'm going to do that just now because he feels a little bit too soft. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more stuffing and continue to stuff him until he is perfect. Let's get back to crocheting. We can now move on to round 14. In round 14, we're going to continue to decrease. And all we're going to do here is invisible decreases all the way around. By the end of round 14, you will have 6 stitches left. Let's continue this round and meet back at the very end, and I will show you how to close up your work. Round 14 was our last round of crochet. At this point, we can take our yarn and our scissors and snip away our working yarn, as we're now going to close up our work and then weave in the ends. Let me show you how to do that. Closing up our work is very straightforward. Attach your yarn needle to your yarn, and we're going to use the last 6 stitches of the final round. With your yarn needle, grab the front loops of stitches 1 and 2 as if you're doing an invisible decrease and give your yarn a pull. Do exactly the same with stitches 3 and 4. You can start seeing that the hole is closing in the center, and we'll do it one more time with stitches 5 and 6. And just like that, your work is fully closed up. Weave in the yarn end, and then let's meet back here and I'll show you how to add the pink rosy cheeks to your whale. This step is optional, but I like to add a pop of colour by adding rosy cheeks to my whale. Grab a length of pink yarn and fold it in half so that you have a loop at the end to help secure the yarn in place. You want to start the first rosy cheek below the eye, and then I go up 1 stitch diagonally from that first starting point and pull my yarn through. As I've got the loop, I'm going to pass my needle through that loop to secure it. Now let's put our needle back through the hole we came out of, and then we're going to pass the needle all the way through to the other side, just below the other eye, and do exactly the same. We want to pull the yarn through and then go up 1 stitch diagonally in order to create the other rosy cheek. As that's all the steps, I then pass my needle through the bottom of my whale in order for me to then weave in the last of the yarn ends. And that's us. We have created this lovely little pocket whale, and he is excited to join the rest of his pod. Thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial, and happy whale making!